Hey, everyone, and welcome to All Things Grace podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Majors, and the title of today's show is From Hardship to Hollywood, an inspiring journey of redemption and grace. And we are talking to Darius Wallace.
Yes.
So let me first set this up because this is going to be a great conversation. So before Darius was a Hollywood movie actor, a founding member of Tennessee Shakespeare in Memphis, before he was a TEDx speaker, coach, practitioner of Qigong and into self-improvement through meditation, before he was a highly accomplished, successful man that he is now, Darius was broke and broken. He struggled with anxiety, depression, fear, limiting beliefs. We all know what that is, and suicidal thoughts, and just an overwhelm, right? And then got into gangs. But an angel comes along and the story changes. But I'm not going to tell you what that. I'm going to let Darius talk about all that. But first, thank you so much for blessing us today with your presence and sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's a blessing to be here, and I'm honored to be here. And I love sharing my story. Definitely is a miracle. And I talk about my children too, who are miracles. And so, I'm very blessed to be here for sure.
Yeah. And that's where it starts. That's where it starts, is just acknowledging, wow, we're here. So as long as we keep showing up to the party, as long as we keep showing up, things can always change, right?
Yeah. And so, really and truly, my life, the majority of my life has had a lot of ups and downs. It really wasn't until maybe about a decade ago that I found a sense of serenity and found myself more happy, joyous, and free than, angry, depressed, and full of fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
And so really my journey started as a young person. I was very timid, and my father was very concerned. So he took me to see this movie. And when I came back from seeing this movie, I started kicking, punching, and screaming. I had just seen Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon.
Okay.
And I wanted to be just like Bruce Lee. But my father also introduced me to Muhammad Ali and Frederick Douglass and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Shirley Chisholm and Harriet Tubman and, all these different great people, amazing people. And so I had hovering over me clouds of inspiration. But, growing up, feeling awkward, even though eventually because of martial arts, I got comfortable with my body, still inside, I wasn't comfortable with myself. And so at about 13 years old, I wanted to be somebody else. And I found myself desiring to act, but I was so shy that every time I stood in front of people, I would always forget all my lines. And I wasn't able to communicate well. So I communicated a lot with my hands, with my fist. And I ended up getting in trouble from time to time. And then eventually I became a target for gang life, which I got involved 13 years old. I've been this size pretty much since I was 13. And I was on my way to getting into a lot of trouble when the vice principal intervened, and he says, you have a choice to make. You can either do what I know you really want to do, which is act, or you can go to jail, juvenile, or I can tell your daddy. Now let me be clear. You send me to jail, send me to juvenile, just don't tell
my dad.
You ever seen Good Times? My daddy was the real James Evans. So, my come to Jesus moment was about like that. And I made a decision not to go that route. Fortunately, after my junior high school or middle school teacher helped me say one line in a play. It took all of rehearsal to get me to say one line. The night that we performed it, I don't know what got into me, but that one line just came out of me and filled up the whole theater. And everybody looked and wondered, where did that voice come from? Well, in the audience was my high school theater teacher who came up to me. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, he believed in me until I learned to believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, you have a great voice, a great presence. I want you to be a part of the theater department. And he taught me mime, basically, so I can get comfortable with my body on stage. And that translated into becoming an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the leading role in a show freshman year. And in the audience was the gang I was involved with, the Top Dogs. And I remember walking home and just like in Boys in the Hood, you ever see that movie? You know, car just slowly rolls up and the window slowly roll down. And they said to me, get in the car. I got in the car and they said, you know, we're proud of you. We saw the play. You're talented. We don't want you to go this route.
Come
And they
on.
let me out of the car.
Come on.
That was the last I saw of them.
Come on.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Matter of fact, one of them that got me involved, who has completely changed his life also, reached out to me on Facebook during the pandemic. And I got a chance to understand some of the things that happened, you know, to some of the others. And some went on to change their lives and others didn't make it, you know. So, so I went on a journey of acting school and professional acting, but deep inside, I was still broken up. I still wasn't whole. And I started to abuse substances, mainly alcohol, for years and years and years, trying to medicate myself to deal with anxiety, depression, and anger and confusion. And that went on in my career for quite some time. And then I had that moment that is called hitting bottom. Unfortunately, my bottom wasn't as bad as some people's bottom, but it was still a bottom. And after I hit that bottom, I went and got help. And when I got help, that was the end of it. December 4th, 2009, and that was the beginning. As my mentor or sponsor would say to me, "It'll only get better. It'll only get better." And it started to get better. And through the course of time and discovering my higher power, there came a moment, what they call the miracle, where you completely lose a desire for the substance. And you also have this conscious contact with the Most High. And since that time, I've seen miracles beyond what I can describe or imagine. Being an actor, you're always walking in the dark, walking on faith. And for the most part, every time I walk, it's like the ground places itself under me.
My feet. Yeah.
And I say that because during this period of time, as an actor, you know, I have 3 children. 2 of them are young adults now, 1 teenager. So to be an actor raising a family, you know, is quite a feat. You know, if you're not making millions of dollars, which I'm on my way, I'm putting it out there. But my point, though, is that that's not the case now, and it wasn't the case years ago. So, you know, I have practiced and still practice Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation. I read all kinds of inspirational material because I'm a firm believer in cultivating your inspiration. You have to put the content within yourself because there's so much content out there that can distract you and bring you into anxiety, fear, and depression. So, so that's in a nutshell my story.
Yeah. I love your story. And I think what I love most about it is that, you know, I think everyone has that, what is that dark night of the soul moment, right? That the things that you've been explaining at different points, you know, and it's always interesting to hear people moving out of that space, because I think we've all been in that space, and some of us move out because we, you know, life just rips out from under us and we have to figure it out. Some of us have an aha moment and they don't have to hit rock bottom, they just make the change. And so there's all these different things that have us move out of this place where we are hopeless and we're depressed and we're sad and we're anxiety, we're spiraling. And so did it feel, you talked a little bit about it, but did it feel abrupt? Like, I'm ready right now, let's go, like new chapter? Or was it an evolution over a period of time where you couldn't even really recall how it kind of happened? What was that experience like coming out of that place?
That's such a great question. It was really, well, I would say both, and let me explain what I mean by that. I remember what I felt in 2009. Now you have to remember that, or you have to know that most of my life really was depressed and, just unhappy. And I thought that was normal. That's how much, I thought that everybody was, you know what I mean? And there was these moments of like, oh, wow, I'm happy for a moment. I try to just do everything I can while I'm feeling happy. And then I can just kind of feel it kind of dwindling, and I can feel it going away, and before I know it, I'm in the space. So that happened most of my life. It seemed like that day, which was actually December 3rd, was the moment that I decided to go to a very interesting place called AA.
Mm-hmm.
But that night, I went back out and I drank. But the next day, December 4th, I wanted to go back because I heard some things in the room that was my story from other people that were, struggling or suffering or had recovered, basically. And it was something in me that really made the decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that root word comes from scissors.
Mm-hmm.
The decision
Mm-hmm.
means the cutting off.
That's right.
To go into a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so there was a something within me that let go, that made a decision. I wanted a new life.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't mean that there wasn't the challenges and the struggles. For 2 years, there was a challenge and a struggle, and your body is used to coping with life a certain way. And there were things that were happening in life that was like, where normally I need a drink moments, good or bad,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't just drink because things are going bad. You celebrate too when things
That's
are
right.
going well. So it
That's
doesn't
right.
matter, good or bad. I'm.
Mm-hmm.
So my body was struggling, and that's where the gradual thing happens, where you really have to lean in on help.
Yeah.
One day at a time, right? However, there was a moment.
Mm-hmm.
They call it the miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And, at this stage of my life, remember when 2008 happened?
And the crack, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it didn't happen to me in 2008. I was good. I was working. You know what I mean? Things were rolling. You know what I mean? I was rolling. And then 2011, something happened. The phone stopped ringing. I don't know what happened. 2011, man, it just like, I was trying to figure it out. Like, what is going on? And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. Make a long story short, it was hot. And it was hot that summer. It was hot that summer, and I was driving a car that had no air in it. And you had to pray that it would start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you got into it. And I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. So I remember we had come to the very bottom of the barrel. It's 3 kids, 3 little small kids. Two goes to not daycare, summertime, so it was summer camp or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
My other one was way across town going this way. She was going to preschool. Then my wife worked all the way downtown, and so I knew this day I wasn't going to have no gas money to get back, let alone pick them up. So I took some of my precious books. Now you have to understand, I really didn't start reading until I was about 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so books are like, they're my, you know what I mean? Because I
Mm-hmm.
take some of my precious books. If anybody's listening to Memphis, Tennessee, you know what I'm talking about, to Cooper and Young area, to a bookstore called Burke's, because you can sell your books there, and this used bookstore. So I did. I got the cash, and I was able to put gas in my car to get home, and also had enough gas to pick them up, and I had gas to get me some coffee. Now, even when I'm broke,
yeah, you gotta find money for coffee.
I'm gonna get my coffee. I got my coffee, and so anyway, picked them all up. And it was a cool day that day. And you have to understand, this is one of the hottest summers that I could ever remember in Memphis. But it was cool that evening. I was sitting at Starbucks outside, and I felt a very serene feeling and voice in me say, let's go for a walk. And I'm thinking, okay. All right. Got in the car. If you live in Memphis, you know where the Starbucks is. On Quinston Ridgeway, and there's a park not far. And when you walk around that park, it's a mile around. And I walked around it 7 times, not on purpose.
Huh.
And I can say that I don't remember what the conversation was between me and my higher power. All I know is when I came out of it, I was different. There was this serene, peaceful feeling, and regardless of where we were financially, regardless of where all the bills and how we're going to pay all the bills, I knew everything was going to be fine. And I slept like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, truly, all of these blessings seemed to fall out of the window. And I cannot say that since that time that any accomplishments or any kind of blessings that have come into my life came any other way than falling out of the window. It seems like when I get involved and I try to make it happen,
That's right.
I mess it up.
Yep.
You know, and so that answering your question along the long form answer is it was both, to be honest, a process, and it still is a process. Let's say this last thing. You mentioned Dark Night of the Soul. You know, I'm an actor, storyteller, and I coach speakers on telling stories. And in every story, there is the dark night of the soul. But in any movie, and really in your life, because story structure is the structure of life, it's the circle of life. It is always in the dark night of the soul when the revelation comes. And that revelation of understanding that you can come out of this. And you start on your journey with your great idea, whatever it is, or whatever you've remembered from your mentor, and off to the races where you know what you need to do in order to overcome.
Where does one pick up? I have 90 questions in my head right now. And, you know, the questions in my head range from, what is your favorite book? And, you know, all these things. I'm going to get it together, though. Let me sort myself out. But the first thing I do want to say this. I, too, had a, you know, I'll say a serious addiction. But what we know is alcohol. And what we know is that it's a relative, right? Did I miss work? No. Did I, you know, lose a lot? No. I was high functioning and high performing. What I did know is I could not imagine life or any social, and I'm an introvert. So I get anxiety around a lot of people. Imagine that. You know, I do. And so you know, I couldn't imagine what that would even look like or mean. So I really understand that place of where, you know, it's something you got to deal with.
Yeah.
And not AA, but what I chose to do. I don't know if you've ever heard of The Easy Way by Alan Carr. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh my God. So it's called The Easy Way by Alan Carr. And I knew they were going to do that as soon as I start talking about it. No, devil dogs, you're not going to interrupt this story. So I was watching some show, one of the Jimmys, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy somebody, you know, and Ashton Kutcher was on there and talking about how he used the easy way to stop smoking. It's basically a book that you read, and you just read the book, and they say, hey, keep smoking, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't wait until, just keep doing normal life, but read this book. Do not skip ahead. Do not, So he said, yeah. And they say, okay, tomorrow's going to be your last cigarette. Keep, I want you to smoke like 8 cigarettes tonight, live it up, do your thing. So that's pretty much what it was. Right. But they did want an easy way to quit alcohol. And so let me try this thing. And sure enough, they're like, go ahead and enjoy your last drink, make it a Whopper. Cause you're not going to want it tomorrow. And, I'm like, there has to be some hypnosis in it. Cause I did the audio and I had my last drink and have not wanted one, have not craved it, have not felt anything was missing. I just, right.
Wow.
And so I was like, what's up with this book, right? I really don't care what it is. But I've been so thankful for that experience. And so whether you have that community where you need to like hear your story and others and know, like, see yourself reflected in that process, or whether you read a book, what I can tell anybody who's listening about this alcohol trip is that the freedom you have afterward, the things that you're like, I can't imagine life without it. How am I going to do a social thing? How am I going to do a speak? Anything, it's possible.
Yeah.
And there is, the money you save. I'm not even going to talk about that, but I just feel the need, and only because you opened it up, I never would have talked about it. But I just want to thank you for your vulnerability to open the door for me to say, yeah, double down on, yeah, great things happen when you stop. I can tell you that,
True.
And one thing for me, and I'll echo what you said as well, is that peace, that connection. Like it just, when you're inebriated on anything, it disconnects your ability to hear your higher voice, your higher power, to hear God, and you are on your own. Like you said, when I get in the way, it ain't good. I got to completely surrender and done and let me just listen and obey and do my part. Right. So that's the first thing that I wanted to just add to your story. Or add to the conversation. I got my notes over here, so that's why I'm looking over here to the side. But
sure.
I'm going to ask this question. Mm-hmm. What is going on in Hollywood right now? Right. So all of the things that are, all these conspiracy theories, like they eat babies, like all these weird things that I'm starting to see. I don't know if they eat babies, but I do know there's something really deep and and dark and dangerous, if you are not anchored in some kind of wraparound bubble called God or your angel, whatever it is, that must be a struggle. So I just want to ask you, have you experienced any of those forces? Or have you seen them, witnessed, and what was that like? And if you can share, I would love to hear like how that plays out.
I have been invited to the parties. This is years ago, though. This was in the 90s. I didn't go. I didn't know, really what it was. I won't say at that time that I didn't go because I didn't want to go. I'm just being honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just decided not to go. I just remember I was invited twice, and both times I decided not to go. So,
but did you know at the time that was one of the parties, or did you not even? You didn't know what you were invited to until later. You're like, that was one of those parties.
Yeah, I mean, there's that part of it. There is the casting couch part of it. That's very, very real. There is the organized crime part of it. That's very, very real.
The what crime?
Organized crime and entertainment. Because you have to understand there's a lot of money floating in entertainment. That's so right. It's impossible for something like organized crime not to be present. Mm-hmm. There is the, government involvement with storytelling. So, there are forces. I would say, just in general, the world systems, whether it's corporations, politics, entertainment, when you get into a certain space, people want to find a way to control you or own you because it's a money thing. I mean, it's a money thing, and it also is a control thing. One of the things that I learned early on in Hollywood or in entertainment, it's not about the money as much as it's about the power. They have all the money that they need. It's the power that's wanted. So, sometimes you are navigating landmines. I think the thing that what's happening in social media and what happens in media is it blows it up so big to the point where you think that that's all there is. And that's not true. That not every, casting director or producer wants to manipulate you and, make you do things that's against your character. It's just not like that. And not every set is filled with, dark, deep, horrid things that are going on. And not to say that it isn't, but I'm just saying it's not like that all the time. But I've been in plays, and I've been in mainly plays, to be honest, where the atmosphere is plagued because there's some bad things that are going on that you're hearing about. But I would have to imagine almost in any industry, you can find things like that. So where there's corruption. So I think we're just in a day and age where a lot of it's hard to keep secrets anymore. And so you have that element, and then you have the other element that capitalizes on the stories that are out there, and then they exaggerate the stories because they want to get likes or ratings or whatever the case may be. But I think at the end of the day, it's true that you really need a way to find your center, and a way to, quite frankly, I think it's important to have it within yourself to find a way to be independent. It doesn't mean you're not, with a label or a studio or a network or whatever the case may be. It just means that you have, your happiness and your life is not completely swallowed up in somebody else's hands. And that's in general. That's in general. But in the entertainment industry, the thing that you have to think the mathematics of entertainment is the same mathematics, if you're not careful, as sharecropping. Where you can find yourself in debt. You're constantly working your way out of debt. Yeah. So, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
But it can get that way. You'd be surprised. It really is quite a thing,
Yeah. So I want to, about that book. What would you say is your favorite book? What book guides you in it best describes like how you roll?
Wow, that is hard.
I heard you say you had to give up your precious book, so I knew you were a reader. How does one choose?
Well,
okay, I can ask it a different question, actually.
Yeah.
And I knew you were going to come up with an answer, but I want to ask this a different way as well.
Okay.
This show is entitled All Things Grace. What book best describes your grace walk? Or would you describe to someone who, or would you, recommend to someone who is looking for grace in their life?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I think it would have to also be my favorite book. Now, you have to understand there are a lot of books that excite me because of the information that's in it. But there's a book that I've read probably 10 times and counting. And it's actually called Experiencing the Depths of Jesus Christ. Now, what's interesting about the book, I'm not a Judeo-evangelical Christian by any means.
Hold on one second. Did you say experiencing the depths or the death? Depth. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, depths of Jesus Christ. And I'm careful with the word Christian, just because of all the different dynamics behind that word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will say that in that book, which was written back in the 1600s by a French woman, Catholic, whose name is Madame Jean Guillaume, and she was put in jail because of this book. She was put in prison, and the book was burned. And I stumbled across this book at a very auspicious time in my life, but the best way to describe it, it is a book of meditation. And it helps you discover God within yourself. And so that was the book that I was reading in 2011 when I had that moment in the park. And that has been the book that I've read through the years over and over again, because it takes us within where the real power is. Because we're not our bodies. And in understanding that we live in our bodies, we know that we're limitless because, we're of that essence. As a matter of fact, when our ancient ancestors, I don't know if you know that the original name of Egypt is Kemet. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
So Kemet means land of the blacks. It could almost be interpreted land of the black community. So they weren't just talking about skin color, though. You have to understand, chemistry comes from that word Kemet. And it's what's in the darkness, which is light and all kinds of phenomenal things. So when you look inside yourself, you're seeing Kemet. And it's the same essence that you see when you see the night sky. The same essence. And from out of the night sky, stars are born. And from out of your mother's womb, that same darkness, you're born. And that same darkness, when you close your eyes, your imagination is born. And so, the ability to manifest your own destiny. And so the power is within, and that book gets you into that power within yourself. And it goes beyond, it goes beyond Jesus, in Latin called Jesus, even though he was Hebrew. You ever thought about that?
No, this is all new. Even though I hear people talk about it in these really esoteric terms, I've never had the conversation that was grounded enough for me to understand it at this level, at this micro level, right? And this macro is just a concept, but at the micro, it's like you can make the connections.
Yeah. It's a very beautiful thing in understanding the essence of who we are, and that it's beyond these names. There's meaning behind these names. In the middle of, might as well say northeastern Africa, you got disciples named Luke, Mark, Peter, Matthew. I'm just saying it's something deeper there. And so, it takes me back to this. I always tell this story. I've been finding myself telling the story on podcasts, all about this orphan from a very poor family is picked up by a very rich family, a family that ran everything. And this orphan was raised in this family. And this orphan became very, very smart and became very, very powerful and began to run the town until he saw one of the police officers beating someone that looked just like him. Got pissed off, and he killed the officer. So everybody was looking for this young man, the FBI, CIA, all the letters. They were after him. So he broke. He went away. And he went away for a long time, for about 40 years. And he felt so guilty about what he had done in committing murder and having to run away. He developed a stutter. It was very insecure and a lot of low self-esteem. And one day he decided to take a walk, and he walked in this mountain that was barren. And as he was walking in the mountain that was barren, he saw something very interesting. It was a bush that was burning. And the bush told the young man, you've got to go back because your people there are suffering. And you got to go tell the mayor, let my people go. And the young man said, well, who do I say has sent me to tell them, let my people go? And the fire or the inspiration said within him, tell them, I am that. I am sent you. And that's exactly what he did. He went back. And the mayor said, well, who gave you the authority to say it? He says, I am.
Yeah.
I am that. And so there's power in the I and the am. And it's interesting. Jesus said to those religious people, scribes and Pharisees, before Abraham was, I am.
Sounds like you're a storyteller or something. I don't know. You kind of have a knack for this whole. Yeah, that was powerful, and it'll definitely. I'm going to check out this book.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it.
I'm going to check it out.
Book.
I think it's important to have a broad range. I think one of the problems with religion is that it has us look at things as only one way, as only there are so many different angles to tell the story and to see the story. I never grew up in any real religious framework. I didn't go to church, like seriously, like every Sunday kind of thing. And I learned about church in getting my master's when the course that I wanted, I was interested in this program. It just so happened that the program was offered through the School of Theology and Ministry. So I had to take Father Rashko's Christology class 101, like I had to, right? That's where I learned about Christ. And so I was saying, whoa, that's not what I thought. You learn it in different perspectives and different ways without the judgment behind it and all of this is the way and the only, I was able to freely take in the information in a way that just really just struck a chord in my soul. And I'm like, I get it, as a free, willing participant in the conversation, so, and this is just another way to look at it now. So I'm really grateful for the way that you broke it down. You said the power is within. And my question to you is, I'm kind of switching metaphors, but you can roll with different metaphors, I'm sure. What is your kryptonite? What is your kryptonite?
My kryptonite?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna tell you that. I ain't gonna tell you that. I'll leave it at that. Okay, I get it. I see you. Okay. So I think though that as we're talking about how we move and we navigate all of life's, coming different ways that it comes at us. Are you at a place right now where you feel I don't want to say like what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for something that means, do you feel like you're at a place now where you're flat, 10 toes down, flat-footed, and you are feeling solid in where you're going? Are you still kind of in a discovery? You still kind of, we're always evolving. Yes. Yeah. So I don't want to, that's different than what I'm asking. It's more about how you're feeling in your body at this point in your journey right? And I want to ask you this question because once you get your academy, your whatever it is, I want to come back and say, so now, are you going to any other parties? Are you feeling a little more like, how are you feeling now? So
where are you in your body at this point in your journey?
I would say it's really a little bit of both. Like before, I think that the one thing that I've learned to do that I feel solid in, it's interesting saying it, because for me, I've been doing it for so long, it feels comfortable now. I think if people knew my life, they'd be like, dude, how are you doing? What do you do? But I've been living this way for so long. So I think I have become comfortable, or more so than ever, in the unknown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think in that sense, I'm grounded, that I know that I'm walking on water, and I'm very conscious that in order to be able to walk on water, I have to stay focused on the prize or the goal. That if I look down at the water, I will sink. So I'm comfortable in that. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, there are times when I feel like I'm sinking, and there are times when when I put it this way. Listen, every day I've got to cultivate my inspiration. Every day I have to do the work every day.
That's right.
And it's in that space where I am still discovering, I'm still coming to understand, I'm still dealing with challenges, I'm still having moments of the dark night of the soul. I'm having moments of then triumph and inspiration, and sometimes the agony of what feels like defeat. Right? There's no defeat, just temporary defeat. Um, and so I think there's a beauty in life when you're conscious of the okayness in continuing to learn and to grow. It's a part of this universe that we're in. I don't know that there'll ever be a time when I can say, whether it's spiritually or physically or career wise, I've made it. I think if that happens, I don't want to know what that feels like. I love the idea of the journey.
Yeah. Okay. I got two more questions, and then
Okay.
the next question is again, see, always she comes right on time. The next question is related to brain. Come on, my baby just threw me off. How? Oh, you know what? Okay, I'll just ask another one. What would you have done? Oh, I got it. I remember. Okay, so, and I've asked different people this, so just know this is kind of becoming one of my standard questions. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 is this life sucks. I'm ready to be done. I want to do over. This is just, I don't want to do this one anymore. 10 is, I could not imagine a more miraculous, amazing, blissful life. I mean, goodness gracious. I don't know what to ask for. I don't know. I am living in this, state of just, whoa, this is my life, right? What would you give yourself? And if it's less than a 10, do you know, and are you willing to share, what would make it a 10? What is the, and do you know what would make it a 10?
Yeah, I would say 8.
Okay.
I would say 8. And I would say that what would, because my life has been just massively miraculous in so many ways. I really need to write a book. But I would say the other two, what would make it more that way, I think would be there are things that I want to manifest that I haven't manifested yet. And I think that there's a lifestyle that I want to manifest that I haven't manifested yet, which is really one of travel. I really want to be a global actor. And then I think, I'm single now. So I think the other thing, I'd love to know what it's like to be in this state and have a love relationship that's free of free of things. And it's just,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And so I'd love to know what that is, and what that's like. I know what it means to be in love. I really do. I just want to know what it means to be in love in the midst of manifesting the things you want to manifest in this very short life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember my coach telling me one time that they measure or describe power, like personal power, as the distance between your word and the reality of it, right? Your word and when it happens. So if you have a lot of power, you can say, I want to be in London now for lunch or for dinner or breakfast. And you can make that happen. So that's a level of power, right? So you measure real power and also spiritual power, right? Manifesting. So from the moment you give your word to reality, that distance is like a measurement of your power. Mm-hmm. So given you want these to manifest these things, when you're going to do it? Now, if I say, so hey, when you're going to make these things happen, you could either say, oh, well, you remember, Michelle, I told you when I get involved in it, I mess it up. So we'll see how it happens. I'm going to do life and move, and it will open up. Or there's that other part where I'm a creator. I'm a manifester. I'm going to make this thing happen. I will call you on August 1st, and here's what's going to be happening. Now, it might not be, but that's the level of I am that I am-ness, right?
Yep.
Which one would you lean towards?
Really, it's a balance. It's a balance of both fate and faith. Fate and faith. If you're just reliant upon fate, fate is your destiny is already determined for you. And there's really nothing that you can do about it. And you just have to live life on life's terms, which is an ideology of how to live. And people have found themselves, serene and just taking life on life's terms. There's another one called faith. And faith is when you take action and you move to shape your destiny. And I think it's really a balance of both. There's certain things that fate will throw at me that I can't control, but yet it's material that I can use my faith to then use it to continue to be a creator.
Yeah.
So I believe fate and faith are married to each other. And I believe the idea of going with the flow and taking action are also married with each other. And I think in this life, we're finding the balance between the two. That's the way that I see it.
This could go on for another hour, but we're gonna end things now. I just want to say thank you so much again.
Thank
this
you.
This is a wow. I've
had fun.
Yeah, I'm taking so much. It was really good. I know. So I think I guess we'll just call it. But I really want to have you back.
Okay.
And also, I just want to stay in touch with, the evolution of things that are, happening and manifesting. So thank you so much. And definitely we'll have you back. And you've been a blessing. Like I knew you would in the beginning. I said that. Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've had a great time. Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. Michelle Majors, and I hope you enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please hit the small bell to turn on your notifications and become a subscriber.